You've been paying attention, maybe not to everything, but to the small things, the way opportunities show up, the way doors open at exactly the right moment, the way provision arrives just when you need it. You sense something shifting, something changing in the atmosphere around your finances, and you're right to sense it. God speaks in signs. He leaves markers. He gives warnings before blessing. He announces arrival before he arrives. And if you know what to look for, you can recognize when an unexpected financial door is about to open in your life, not in some distant future, in your immediate days ahead. I'm going to walk you through 10 specific biblical signs, not feelings, not hopes, signs, measurable, recognizable, repeatable signs that Scripture says precede breakthrough. The first sign is when people begin to ask for your counsel on matters you never offered to advise about. This matters more than you realize. Genesis 41:38 says Pharaoh asked his servants, "Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is?" Joseph hadn't advertised himself. He hadn't applied for the position. People recognized something in him and came asking for his help. Proverbs 25 says, "Counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but a man of understanding shall draw it out." When people start seeking your wisdom, it's a sign that you've become valuable, and value precedes wealth. When you begin receiving unsolicited requests for your advice, your perspective, your experience, you're witnessing the early stage of financial elevation. People don't pay for what they don't value. They don't compensate those they don't respect. When counsel starts flowing toward you without you marketing yourself, a door is opening. Pay attention to this. Don't dismiss it. Document it. Because within 6 months to 2 years, someone will offer you money for what they're currently asking you about freely. The second sign is when your competence in your current work suddenly becomes visible to people above you in the hierarchy. This is different from being good at your job. Everyone's good at their job. This is when your excellence becomes undeniable to decision makers. Genesis 39:3 and 4 say about Joseph, "And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand." Potiphar didn't just notice Joseph was competent. He couldn't help but notice. The results were undeniable. When your work suddenly becomes visible to higher authority, when people above you start taking interest in what you're doing, when you're invited into conversations above your pay grade, a door is opening. You're being watched. You're being evaluated. You're being considered. Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, "Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might." When you do that, people notice. When they notice, they promote. When they promote, opportunity follows. The third sign is when you begin receiving unexpected income from sources you didn't create. This might be a bonus you didn't anticipate, a check from an unexpected place, an inheritance, a tax refund larger than expected, a client who pays more than quoted, a job that appears with higher compensation than your current role offers. Proverbs 13:11 says, "Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase." But there's another proverb. Proverbs 28:20 says, "A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent." When income begins flowing to you from unexpected quarters, it's a sign that God is opening channels you didn't dig. When you suddenly receive money you didn't work for, didn't plan for, didn't expect, you're witnessing divine provision arriving ahead of your own effort. This is a sign, a marker, an announcement. When multiple unexpected income streams appear within a short period, prepare yourself. A larger door is coming. Genesis 39:5 says about Joseph's master, "And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. and the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. Joseph's blessing overflowed to his master. When your blessing overflows to others around you, they notice, and they reward you for it. The fourth sign is when closed doors suddenly open without you pushing on them. You've been trying to get a meeting with someone. Suddenly they call you. You've been waiting for approval on a project. Suddenly it arrives. You've been hoping for an opportunity in a certain direction. Suddenly someone reaches out, offering exactly that. Genesis 39:21 says, "But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison." Joseph was in prison. He had no influence. He had no connections. Yet he found favor. Doors opened for him, in a place where doors don't normally open. When circumstances suddenly shift in your favor, when resistance melts without you applying pressure, when things that seemed impossible suddenly become possible, a door is opening. Proverbs 3:6 says, "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." When your paths suddenly become clear, when obstacles suddenly disappear, when resistance suddenly softens, you're seeing a sign, a marker, a preview of what's coming. The fifth sign is when your personal relationships begin to shift in positive directions you didn't engineer. Old friendships rekindle at exactly the right moment. Family relationships heal. New relationships form with people who have resources or connections. Someone you haven't heard from in years suddenly reaches out. Genesis 41:45 says, "Pharaoh gave Joseph a wife. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paaneah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt." Joseph didn't court Asenath. He didn't pursue her. Pharaoh gave her to him as part of his elevation. When your relationships suddenly shift, when people who were distant become close, when connections form without your maneuvering, when partnership opportunities appear from unexpected people, a door is opening. Proverbs 17:17 says, "A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity." When the right people suddenly show up in your life at exactly the right moment, you're witnessing divine orchestration. Pay attention. These aren't coincidences. These are signs. The sixth sign is when you begin to see problems in the world around you that you uniquely know how to solve. Most people see problems and feel helpless. But when a financial door is about to open, you begin seeing problems as opportunities. Genesis 41:33 through 36 shows Joseph seeing the coming famine not as catastrophe, but as an opportunity to serve and build. "Now therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the fifth part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine." Joseph saw what others couldn't see. He saw solution where others saw disaster. When you begin to see opportunities in problems, when you recognize solutions others miss, when you see how to create value in situations others see as losses, a door is opening. The ability to see what others can't see is itself a form of wealth. Genesis 41:39 says, "And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Forasmuch as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art." The seventh sign is when you feel a sudden increase in energy and clarity about your financial future. You've been confused, overwhelmed, uncertain. Then something shifts. Suddenly you can see a path forward. Suddenly options become clear. Suddenly you know what you need to do. Proverbs 29:18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he." When clarity comes, when vision arrives, when confusion lifts, you're witnessing a sign, a marker, an announcement. This clarity is not accident. It's divine. It's preparation. It's announcement of what's coming. God doesn't open a door silently. He gives you signs first. He whispers before he shouts. He clarifies before he manifests. When suddenly you can see what to do, when suddenly a path appears where there was only fog, when suddenly you know what your next move should be, a door is opening. Trust that clarity. It's not your imagination. It's preparation for arrival. The eighth sign is when people begin to trust you with their resources. Someone asks you to manage money for them. Someone asks for a loan and trusts you to handle it responsibly. Someone invites you into a business partnership. Someone asks you to oversee something valuable to them. Genesis 39:4 says about Joseph, "And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand." Potiphar didn't just promote Joseph, he gave him complete authority over his entire estate. That's trust. That's confidence. That's a sign. When people begin putting their resources under your authority, when they begin trusting you with what matters to them, when they begin asking you to manage and oversee things, a door is opening. Because once you prove you can be trusted with someone else's resources, they will offer you the opportunity to create resources of your own. Trust is a gateway to wealth. When trust begins flowing toward you, a door is opening. The ninth sign is when you begin to experience favor in places where you have no natural advantage. You walk into a store and the owner gives you a discount you didn't ask for. You apply for something and get approved when others don't. You negotiate and get terms better than expected. You walk into a room and people treat you with respect you haven't earned yet. Genesis 39:21 says, "But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison." Joseph was in prison. He had every reason to be treated poorly. Instead, he found favor. Proverbs 3:4 says, "So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man." When favor begins flowing toward you in places where you have no right to expect it, when people treat you better than your circumstances warrant, when doors open because of who you are rather than what you've accomplished, a door is opening. Favor is a sign. It's a marker. It's Scripture's way of saying God is moving on your behalf. When you experience favor unexpectedly, you're witnessing the early stage of financial breakthrough. The 10th sign is when you begin to receive multiple confirmations that you're on the right path. One person tells you they see potential in you, then another does, then another. You pray about a direction and receive confirmation through Scripture. Then someone mentions the same direction unsolicited. Then an opportunity appears that points the same way. Genesis 41:38 and 39 show Pharaoh recognizing Joseph's calling. "And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Forasmuch as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art." Multiple people confirming the same thing. Multiple signs pointing the same direction. Multiple doors opening toward the same place. This is how God announces arrival. Not through one voice, through many. Not through one sign, through multiple. Not through one door, through many openings simultaneously. When you begin receiving repeated confirmation from different sources, when multiple people see the same potential in you, when circumstances keep pointing the same direction, a door is opening. A big one. Now let me tell you something crucial about these signs. They don't come in order. They don't arrive all at once. They come in overlapping waves. You might experience sign 3 while still waiting for sign 1. You might see sign 7 before you see sign 2. The order varies, but the pattern is consistent. When a financial door is about to open, these signs appear. Not all 10 necessarily, but most of them. Multiple confirmations from different angles. And here's what matters. These signs are not invitations to passive waiting. They're invitations to active preparation. When you begin to see these signs, you don't sit back and hope. You move forward. You take action. You position yourself. Genesis 41:41 says, "And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt." But this came after Joseph had prepared, after he'd interpreted the dream, after he'd offered the solution, after he'd done the work. The blessing came because Joseph was ready when the moment arrived. Proverbs 6:6-8 says, "Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. The ant prepares in summer for winter. When you see signs that a door is opening, summer is ending. Winter is coming. Start preparing now. Position yourself. Build your skills. Strengthen your relationships. Clarify your vision. Document your systems. Prepare your family. Because when the door opens, you need to be ready to walk through it immediately. I've watched this pattern repeat for 40 years. I've seen people recognize these signs and walk through doors that transform their lives. I've also seen people miss these signs. They didn't recognize what was happening. They didn't prepare. When the door opened, they weren't ready. They missed the moment. The door opened for someone else instead. Don't be that person. You're at an age where these signs matter urgently. You might have one, maybe two chances left to recognize these markers and act decisively. You don't get infinite opportunities. If you're seeing multiple signs right now, if you're sensing something shifting, if you're noticing people asking for your counsel, if opportunities are appearing, if unexpected income is arriving, if doors are opening, if relationships are shifting positively, you're in a season of preparation, not yet the full opening. But the announcement, the preview, the marker that says a door is coming. Prepare yourself, position yourself. Make decisions now that position you to walk through that door when it arrives. Because doors don't stay open forever. When they open, they close. And if you're not ready, you miss them. This is not coincidence speaking to you. This is scripture. This is pattern. This is how God works. He announces before he arrives. He gives signs before he opens doors. And you're seeing the signs. The question is whether you'll recognize them, prepare for them, and have the courage to step through when the door arrives.